Hello there, challenge group. Today is Tuesday, May 19th, and I'm going to introduce our new book, Chocolate Fever. I sent most of you this book through the lunch pickup. A lot of you got it. I know, Eli, you got your copy. If you did not get it, then when we have our next Google Meet, let me know you don't have the book and I will figure out a way to get it to you. Okay, Chocolate Fever by Robert Kimmel Smith. First, I'm going to tell you what this book is about. Henry Green was a boy who loved chocolate. He liked it bitter, sweet, dark, light, and daily. For breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks. In cakes, candy bars, milk, and in every other conceivable form. Henry probably loved chocolate more than any boy in the history of the world. One day, Henry found that strange things were happening to him. He made medical history with the only case of chocolate fever ever. And then he found himself caught up in a wild, hilarious chase, climaxed by a most unusual hijacking. So this is the book we're going to be reading. I'm going to read chapter 1 to you, and hopefully when we have our Google Meet, you will already have your book and we can read together. Chapter 1, Meet Henry Green. There are some people who say that Henry Green wasn't really born, but was hatched, fully grown from a chocolate bean. Can you believe that? Anyway, this particular Henry Green we are speaking of was really born, not hatched, and had a wonderful mom and dad in the bargain. His father was tall and lean and wore eyeglasses, except when he was sleeping or in the shower. That's kind of like me. Mama Green, whose name was Enid, was a short, slim woman with blue-gray eyes and a tiny mouth. There aren't too many pictures, but when there is one, I'll show you. That always seemed to be on the verge of a smile, Mom's mouth. They all lived in an apartment in the middle of the city, along with Henry's older brother and sister. Mark Green was 10 and tall and very good to Henry, except when they would argue, which was often, and then he would hit Henry on the head with anything that was handy. But mostly Mark was fun to be with and only got angry when Henry called him Marco Polo. Mark didn't like that, and who could blame him? Henry's sister was very, very old, almost 14. She didn't ever argue with Henry or Mark. In fact, she hardly talked to them at all because she was so old and wise and almost grown up. Her name was Elizabeth. The other morning, which was a school day at the end of the week called Friday, Henry, Mark, and Elizabeth were at the table in the dining room having breakfast. Mark was eating fried eggs. Elizabeth was quietly chewing on her usual breakfast of buttery toast and milk. And Henry was midway through his usual breakfast too. Chocolate cake, a bowl of Cocoa Crisp cereal, and milk with chocolate syrup in the milk to make it more chocolatey, washed down by a big glass of chocolate milk and 5 or 6 chocolate cookies. Sometimes, when it was left over from the night before, Henry would have chocolate pudding. And on Sunday mornings, he usually had chocolate ice cream. The truth was that Henry was in love with chocolate. It didn't make him fat. He was a little on the thin side, in fact. It didn't hurt his teeth. He'd never had a cavity. It didn't stun his growth. He was just about average height, perhaps even a little tall for his age. It didn't harm his skin, which had always been clear and fair. But most of all, it never gave him a bellyache. And so his parents, perhaps being not as wise as they were kind, let Henry have as much chocolate as he liked. Can you imagine a boy having a chocolate bar sandwich as an afternoon school snack? Well, Henry did just about every day. And when he ate mashed potatoes, just a few drops of chocolate syrup swished through seemed to make them taste a lot better. Chocolate sprinkles sprinkled on top of plain buttered noodles were tasty too, not to mention a light dusting of cocoa on things like canned peaches, pears, and applesauce. In the Greens kitchen pantry, there was always a giant supply of chocolate cookies, chocolate cakes, chocolate pies, and chocolate candies. There was ice cream too. Chocolate, of course, and chocolate nut, chocolate fudge, chocolate marshmallow. If there was one thing you could say about Henry, it was that he surely did love chocolate. Probably more than any boy in the history of the world, said his mother. How does Henry like his chocolate? Daddy Green would sometimes joke. Why, he likes it bitter, sweet, light, dark, and daily. And it was true up until the day we're talking about right now. And that's the end of chapter 1. Hopefully, we'll be able to read chapter 2 together. So watch for an invitation to Google Meet for just the challenge group. Okay, now we're going to do some word work. All right. You know, we have been practicing syllable sounds, and I'm going to show you a little secret about figuring out what syllables are and how they make different sounds. So I have the word up here, hit. Well, the first rule about syllables is that it has one vowel. So the vowel in hit is I. This is called a closed vowel because this T is closing it in. If we move the T away, we still have a word, H-I, one syllable, there's still one vowel, but our word is high. This is an open syllable because nothing's closing it in. The I is at the end. Do you remember when we were in school, we learned one vowel at the end is long. That's why we have high. And then we also learned one vowel not at the end is short. And so we have hit with a short I sound. And that is the rule with vowels. If it's a closed vowel, that means letters close it in, it's a short vowel. If it's an open vowel, a syllable, that means nothing's closing it in, it's a long vowel sound. So we're going to look at some more words and try to figure them out. First thing you do is separate the syllables, one vowel in each syllable. So here is one, U-S. We're going to separate that out, move the N over, and here's the other syllable, B-O. When there's one letter in between the two syllables, you move it over to the right, and it becomes part of this syllable. So now we have an open syllable, nothing's blocking in the B-O, and we say bow. And on this syllable, it's a closed syllable because the S has closed in the U, so we know that's going to be a short vowel sound, nuss. So if we read the whole thing, bonus. I know it's tricky to remember, but the more we do it, the easier and faster we will get at it. Here's another word. Let's separate the parts that have a vowel. So E-N-T, that's one vowel. This is kind of in the middle. One consonant is in between the vowels. And then we have a syllable over here with the vowel U. Remember, when there's one letter in between the vowels, you push it to the right and it's part of this vowel, this syllable. So here we have an open syllable. Nothing is blocking the U. So this U is going to be long. Open syllables have a long vowel sound. Stew. On this side, we moved the D over. And this is a closed syllable because letters are blocking it. They've closed it in. So it's going to have a short vowel sound. D-ent. Dent. Let's read the whole word. Student. All right, see how that works? So now we have hi, bonus student. That's you guys. Okay. Over here, I have some syllable sounds, and we talked about how if we just automatically learn those syllable sounds, it makes it so much easier to read a word. So we're going to try that. This one is closed because the C is closing in the vowel. Pick, like picture. This one is also closed. The N is closing it in, so it's going to have a short vowel sound. N, like in student. Here we have another closed syllable because N and T are closing in that E, so it's going to be a short vowel sound. Dent. Now this one is an open syllable. Nothing's closing in that E. So it's going to have a long E sound. Re, like in the word recent. Okay, same thing up here. This is an open syllable because nothing's closing in that vowel. So it's going to have a long vowel sound. D, like decide. Here's another one, an open syllable because nothing is closing in that O. So it's going to have a long vowel sound, auto. The U is a short U sound because the T closes it in, auto. And besides, AU is like a diphthong. It has two letters that make one sound. Down here, this is a syllable with an open, and so the Y is going to have an E sound, lee, like in friendly. Remember, if there's more than one syllable, the Y sounds like an E. And down here, scent, like recent. We had a recent family picnic. Oh, not anymore, we don't. But the E is closed in, the N and T close it in, so the E is a short sound, and it's scent. Okay, I know this is a lot to think about and a lot of things to remember, but if we do a little bit each time, it'll just become automatic. Okay, watch for the invitation to our Google Meet, and we'll be reading chapter 2 of Chocolate Fever. See you guys later.